people here enjoy science fiction? Wow, that's quite a few. I, for one, love science fiction. I enjoy watching shows like Doctor Who and The Flash and reading books like The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Now, how many people here were discouraged by their parents from reading comics or other forms of science fiction? Not much. Parents are improving. Surprising. I feel that the best part about science fiction is that it combines the best of both worlds. It takes basic, realistic scientific concepts from the real world and builds upon it to make it fiction. I think this is the most interesting aspect about it. The other day, I was reading this really old article about a team of engineers who recreated the bike from the movie Tron Legacy. And this got me thinking. A lot of the technology that we use today was mentioned much ahead of its time in science fiction. Let's take an example. Video call. Skype calls, WhatsApp video calls, it's something that we use every day. It's a technological innovation used extensively by laymen in the 21st century. However, in the 18th century, a time when electronic technology was not as abundant, renowned author Jules Verne, popularly known as the father of science fiction, wrote about a device called the phonotelephone. And this device, in many ways, is what we call video call today. Not only has science fiction mentioned technology ahead of its time, a lot of science fiction has inspired technological innovations today. In his book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne writes about sea exploration at a time when it is still a foreign idea. His writing about Captain Nemo's ship, the Nautilus, inspires a young reader to pursue sea exploration as a career. And this young reader is none other than Simon Lake, the man who made the Argonaut in 1898, the first ever submarine. Not only did Jules Verne's writing inspire Simon Lake, but Jules Verne himself sent a congratulatory letter to Simon Lake upon his achievement. And this is just one of the examples. The early cell phone was inspired by a communicator from the show Star Trek. The taser was inspired by a spy series protagonist's electric stun gun. Earphones, 3D printers, self-driving cars, sentient robots, and even atomic power are all innovations and discoveries inspired by science fiction. This makes one wonder, without these amazing stories and fantastic works of science fiction, we may not have had much of the technology that we enjoy and in some cases exploit today. Coming to my personal experience, I am obsessed with superheroes. Amongst my friends and family, in any conversation relating to superheroes, I always have the final say. And as a result of my obsession, I read and read and read more about them. And I was fascinated by the occurrence of supernatural phenomena and advanced scientific technology. I was so fascinated, in fact, that I decided to consider the scientific logic behind them. So I started reading books like A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking and watching shows like The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. Consequently, I was able to make some connections, albeit rudimentary, between science and fiction. Here are some examples of my crazy discoveries. The first example is of Thor's hammer. Thor is a god in Norse mythology and a popular Marvel superhero. His weapon Mjolnir is considered extremely powerful. Now, the reason I take this example is because there's a scene in the movie Thor wherein he says, "Your ancestors called it magic. You call it science. Well, I come from a place where they are both one and the same." This intrigued me. So I examined Mjolnir further. Mjolnir has three major capabilities. The first, to summon lightning and attack. The first, to summon lightning and attack. The second, the ability of flight. And the third is the condition that only he who is worthy may wield it. At a first look, this all seems like some mystic hoo-ha, but let's break it down. The ability of flight. It could simply be advanced anti-gravity technology, which is actually something scientists are working on even today. The ability to summon lightning and attack. This could simply be the hammer's ability to attract charged particles in the surrounding area and cause enough difference in charge to conjure up a lightning bolt. And the third, the condition that only he who is worthy may wield it, advanced biometric recognition combined with the hammer's ability to manipulate its own center of gravity. It seems like a lot of words to take in, but it's really quite simple. And I'm sure most of you will be thinking, it seems so childish to consider superheroes in a talk like this. But I think that's the very point of creativity. Sometimes you have to look at things through the wondrous eyes of a child. My second example is Doctor Who's TARDIS. Doctor Who is a popular television series wherein the character, the Doctor, travels through the dimensions of time and space in his time machine, the TARDIS. When I first read about time travel, I was so amazed. And as I read more about it, I found out that it was not all flashing lights and raging noises, and there was an actual scientific plausibility behind it. One of the most popularly debated theories regarding time travel is the wormhole theory. This is based upon Einstein's understanding of the universe as a four-dimensional arena called the space-time continuum. This consists of the three dimensions that we know, along with the fourth dimension, that is time. It also uses the principle of black holes that have infinite mass and can pull anything into its gravitational pull. In the most simplest form, the wormhole theory states that two different black holes in two different coordinates of the space-time continuum use their mass to warp the very fabric of space-time and create a sort of pathway. For example, let's say there's a black hole about 20 million light years away from the Milky Way galaxy in 1787, and another black hole about 10 billion light years away from the Milky Way galaxy, except this one is in 2019. The wormhole theory states that if you send an object through the wormhole, through the black hole in 2019, it would emerge from the one in 1787. Of course, this is still just a theory, because we don't even know if we could be able to survive a trip into a black hole, much less come out of it. But it's still amazing to consider and think about. Just imagine the possible applications of time travel. We could effectively go back in time and undo all the wrongs that we've done to our Mother Earth. But that would open up a whole array of complications, which is called paradoxes, which is a discussion for another time. I feel that the best part about all of this is that my love for superheroes, pop culture, and comics encouraged me to learn more about science, specifically physics, which is a subject I never thought I would be interested in. Learning a subject when it's a requirement, and learning it when you have an interest and are intrinsically motivated to do so, has two very different outcomes. I now find a purpose in learning physics. And that's why encouraging interests, even when they're not academic, is also extremely important. I happen to find physics in my heroes. Some may find art. Some others may find graphics. And yet some may even find social responsibility. That could possibly be their first step towards self-realization or even a possible career path. Albert Einstein once said, "Creativity is intelligence having fun." So I'd like to say, don't forget, every now and then, to have a little fun, because your fun may turn out to be your reality. Thank you.